The funny thing is, when this all began, I was actually a kind of an optimist about it. And if you knew me at all, which of course you don't, that fact would startle you. Optimism was never my default setting. Whether that was hardwired into me genetically or something I absorbed from my parents who love me and have good hearts, but they're the Gilbert and Sullivan of fault finding. One improperly stacked dishwasher, one kitchen cabinet left ajar would inspire operetta-length arguments brimming with the vitriol that make Edward Albee jealous. They once had an hour-long argument over how many times Adlai Stevenson was nominated for president, and I know this because they eventually called me to Google it. Because asking them to Google something is roughly the equivalent of asking me to hum the Brandenburg Concerto backwards. And since I don't even know the Brandenburg Concerto forwards, well, the answer is twice, by the way, about Adlai Stevenson. So, nature or nurture? Who knows? Anyway, optimism is something I've had to, in the words of my therapist, consciously cultivate. And I totally have. I've learned to let go of, well, so much. I tell you all the things I'd let go of, but that don't undermine my claims about letting them go. I donated to Elizabeth Warren. Now, was there a voice in my head the whole time saying, there's no way America is ready for an actual progressive, let alone one without a penis? Of course. I mean, I'm an optimist, but I've met Americans. But the point is I donated, so optimism. Anyway, when it all really started, I actually thought it could be an opportunity, a real chance for all of us to find some scrap of commonality. Maybe the wet time away from each other would make us less likely to stare at our screens when we'll get to be around people again. So I vowed to reach out to people in as analog a way as possible. I'd call my friends regularly. You remember phone calls, right? There's a ringtone and you hear an actual voice. I was determined to reconnect like something really good at reconnecting and authentic and become centered and authentic. Like those people who do yoga every morning at sunrise to connect with nature. The type who have a favorite website to buy incense in bulk. That's how fucking centered I was going to become. I would, I don't know, just be a better version of myself. For weeks and weeks, I called. I checked in, all the while looking forward to the day my friends and I could finally meet in the flesh and hug and touch with a fresh appreciation for the actual. But winter became spring, spring yielded to summer, and at some point it started to get away from me. I'm not sure when or how. Maybe part of it is I live alone. Unless you got my Amazon Prime account, which, yes, I know. Amazon is evil and I'm part of the problem for shopping there, but god damn, it doesn't understand my needs better than anyone I've ever been in a relationship with. However, being alone all that time is, well, yeah, I started to ebb. The unconscious muscles I built all my life to navigate other people atrophied. Pascal said that all of humanity's troubles spring from our inability to sit quietly alone in a room. He was right. We can't. Not for long anyway. I don't want this to sound glib, but maybe maybe we were overdue for something like this. I mean, America. Don't misunderstand me. It's got some lovely topography and very high quality theme parks, but it's also sort of designed to leave you forever feeling just shy of adequate. That's literally a fundamental principle powering our economy, and that's fertile ground for abiding, deep loneliness. I warned you, I'm not a natural optimist. But here's the thing, I still think this is a hell of a chance for all of the awfulness people have endured, from unbearable boredom to unspeakable tragedy, for all the disease and death and denial of death and violence and tolerance of violence we've witnessed. I still believe this is a rare chance to really see each other. And yes, a lot of us don't like what we see in ourselves and each other. And yes, the anger and the pain and the sheer crushing weight of history is just so fucking suffocating at times. I get it. There are times it feels hopeless. There are moments it feels like none of us can truly breathe. But that low ambient noise of alienation some of us have been hearing in the background for years, well, it is turned up to 11, my friends. We all hear it now. Good, I say. Let's get it all out in the open once and for all, like Thanksgiving at your Aunt Becky's that one time. One day soon, we are going to beat back the plague, but if we haven't mustered the courage to look each other in the eye by then. Anyway, Adlai Stevenson. I ended up reading his Wikipedia page because I am exactly that fun. And I learned he was, by all accounts, a brilliant man. Far too brilliant not to realize that we liked Ike too much for him to have a real shot at winning. He was principled, albeit less than a completely perfect man, or as my more woke friends might term him, a monster. But he did stand for things. He urged for the ban of above-ground nuclear tests and a halt to the draft, even though he knew that was not a very 1950s friendly agenda. He was crushed by Eisenhower, of course, twice. But guess what? Ike banned nuclear testing in 1958. Sometimes you don't have to win a great victory to nudge the world a bit in the right direction. Something about that moves me. Maybe I don't have the energy right now to engineer a great victory, but nudging, that I can do. Look, we all know the world will never be quite the same again. We just don't know how yet. No one does. And that's our cue. I believe in empathy. I believe in speaking up for justice. I believe in the too often overlooked power of nudging. And I believe, as much as I've ever believed in anything, that most believe in those things too. So, optimism. I'm off to do some optimistic nudging. I hope you do too. Maybe then we can all meet again when we all meet again. That's a lovely thought.
Mm-hmm.